Welcome to the stream? Question mark? Welcome to the stream, welcome to the stream, welcome to the stream. Man. I think I updated OBS, and now all my windows, all the little panels and everything, like, resized. And it's, like, bugging me. Because I don't remember what, like, I generally like my sizes of my things, like, I'm very particular, right? And I'm like, they resized automatically for some reason, or something happened in the back end. But now I'm like trying to remember what sizes they were, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. It's gonna throw me off completely. My whole aura is ruined on this Monday night stream. Also, so peek behind, just the smallest peek behind the curtain. I, especially right before, I've, to some success, try very hard. Like, I'm really bad at, like, keeping track of drinking water. Like, I know by saying that, like, it's kind of lame to admit or whatever. But when I'm streaming, it's like very easy. Just make sure that I pour myself some water so that I have it while I'm streaming, especially during these like Higurashi reading streams we do. Streams. And I have a trusty water drinking device that I've been using now for a year and a half or so. And I went to go fill it with water before the stream tonight. Couldn't find it for the life of me. Like, it's not in one of the, like, 4 places it normally is at throughout my apartment. And so, mix that with the OBS windows now. Panels all out of shape. It's like double whammy. Nothing feels right tonight, right before stream. How am I expected to work under these conditions? How am I supposed to be reading under these conditions? It's crazy. Just the pure lack of professionalism from past me who lost my water. It's not fair to call it a water bottle. Water tumbler thing. And then also out of the OBS update. Just a pure lack of professionalism by OBS update and past me who lost and misplaced the water tumbler. So now I'm using a different device to drink water and it feels weird. For real though, I hope I find that in the next like 24 hours. I really liked it. But we're reading Higurashi, and so we've been playing a lot of Death Stranding for good reason over the last couple weeks. And because of that, like, Higurashi kind of gets pushed around slightly sometimes. We didn't end up reading any Higurashi on Saturday. So I'm actually going to read a section here tonight, and then we're going to actually transition to Yakuza Kiwami 2 and just do more post-game of that. It's going to be more chill of a Monday stream. And then, unless things change, I think I'm just going to even read more Higurashi tomorrow night as well on Tuesday for our normal Higurashi Tuesday reading. So a slightly double dose, but the dose here is going to be quite small. We'll just read one section, however long that is. Kind of just make up for none on Saturday. Kind of keep pace. So that's why I'm reading Higurashi on a Monday. They call it Higurashi Monday. They call it Tokihogushi Monday. What save folder thing are we on for? Let's get right into it. Saturday, October 9th, 1982, somewhere in Tokyo. So, if I remember correctly, this was the last bit was that she was basically, Tomoe here was told, hey, you gotta go do some TV interview thing, even though that's really not your style, by her superior. And she's like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, I already, you have to. It makes us look good. It's good publicity. And I already accepted some, like, gift. What was it? Golf clubs? Maybe? Something like that. So, where's the shop? Should be just up ahead. Just up ahead? You've already said that 5 times. Even though he was her boss, Tomoe was approaching the limits of her patience. In fact, they had been walking to the shop for over 30 minutes now. The interview at the TV station proceeded faster than expected. Filming wrapped up just a little after noon. Even though she was so strongly opposed to coming here that she instigated a major brawl with Fujita and the others, the interview turned out easier than expected. And once it was over, she had no complaints. The only problem was what to do with her time afterwards. What should we do now? Something wrong? Oh, it's nothing. I was just thinking the interview went faster than expected, so... Tomoe pulled the reserved seat ticket from her wallet as she said that, then compared the printed time to the clock on the wall. She was planning to take advantage of the upcoming holiday and head to her grandmother's house in Ibaraki after the interview was over. Looking at the departure time of the express train from Umineko, she had about 3 hours to spare. That's no problem at all. Why not do some sightseeing? Tokyo Tower, Ueno Zoo. I was a Tokyo girl back in my school days, so I'd puke if I had to do either of those again. Both were typical destinations for couples on a date, so how much fun could a single woman have going on her own? Was he just messing with her? In that case, how about Akihabara? People have been talking about some state-of-the-art PC that went on sale recently. Minai-kun, don't you think that computer knowledge will be essential in the future? I'm not going. I already have a word processor, and I'm not nearly wealthy enough to drop over 300,000 yen on something like that. She had no plans to interact with the electronics district anytime soon, but she had a feeling that it would be a completely different world 20 or so years from now. In that case, would you care to grab a quick lunch? Huh? Actually, there's a well-recommended restaurant with delicious food, just a short walk from the station. How about it? Sure. Normally, she would have refused. However, Tomoe did feel a sense of accomplishment for finishing the day's work. More importantly, it was just before payday. So, Tomoe decided to go with Yamaoki. How stupid of me. She clicked her tongue without thinking and quickly shut her mouth. Realizing that was a rude thing to say, she took a peek around Yamaoki's back and was relieved to see that he hadn't hurt anything. Still, she honestly never thought he'd be taking her this far away, so she struggled to suppress the feeling of regret, and of course, she was hungry too. She started to think it would have been better to decline his invitation and head to a nearby hamburger joint on her own. Is this shop really around here? Of course. Have I ever lied to you? Not in recent memory. Though you do say terrible things on a daily basis. Did you say something? No, it's nothing. Even while continuing their conversation, Yamaoki was walking in the lead, looking back and forth while periodically checking a handwritten map. His unreliability was slowly irritating her.
場所がわからなくて何がおすすめよ。
Honestly, how could he recommend a place he didn't even know the location of?
所長、まさかとは思いますが、ボケて場所がわからなくなったとか言いませんよね。
Chief, this is hard to say, but is it possible you've simply forgotten the location in your old age?
何を言うか。私は未だに演習率が100桁まで言えるほどの記憶力だぞ。
What are you talking about? My memory is sharp enough to recite up to 100 digits of pi, you know?
3.1415926535893932384642と。
3.141592653589793232462.
なあ、もういいですから。
Enough of that. I hate numbers. Tomoe quickly grew fed up with his recitation and cut him off, then let out a sigh.
いや、しかし南井君、嫌がっていた割にはなかなかの取材態度と応対だったな。
But Manai-kun, as much as you hated the interview, you handled it with a nice attitude.
広報室長も随分喜んでいたぞ。
Public relations manager was quite pleased.
不本意でも引き受けた以上は手を抜きたくありませんから。
Even if I didn't want to do it, that's no excuse to do a bad job of it.
もっとも、あれだけのためにわざわざ上京する意味があったのかは疑問ですが。
More importantly, I'm starting to wonder if there was some other reason for bringing me to Tokyo. Content of the interview was surprisingly vanilla, completely standard fare. Mostly regarding Tomoe's normal workload and how she spent her days off. They painted an image of her typical workday and edited together with footage from her training at the police academy, which was provided by the public relations office. On the other hand, they weren't particularly interested in professional topics like investigation methodology, so the notes she prepared were completely useless. But she wasn't very thrilled about disclosing specific details on investigation protocols anyway, so she was thankful the conversation didn't get too complex. However, she was also disappointed that her preparation had gone to waste.
結局、刑事であれば誰でもよかったんでしょうね。
In the end, any other detective would have been just as good.
肩肘張っていた自分が情けないです。
I was just the one stuck with the job.
これも仕事だ。
That's work for you.
それに今回のプロデューサーはよーく勉強していた方だと思うぞ。
Besides, producer this time thought you studied well.
確かに間違った方に詳しい方でした。
Certainly, there were no mistakes. Even though she so thoroughly rejected the topic about women's empowerment and expanded rights, they did frequently ask questions along that theme, but she stayed silent. The TV station asked if a female police officer chosen as a member of the recommended group was having difficulty with men in police society and what she was doing to overcome those obstacles. They wanted to appeal to housewives with something along those lines, but she would be damned if she was used for propaganda, so in the end, she gave vague answers and completely ignored it. They felt no shame or guilt about twisting the content to make it more interesting. That was just as much the case now as it was in the old days for the mass media. It confirmed Tomoe's stance that she didn't like their way of thinking and made her feel she couldn't trust them.
それに壁と言われても男女の関係なくあって当然です。
Besides, even if they talk about the obstacles, it's natural for there to be differences in the relations between men and women.
過剰に意識しすぎるのもどうかと思います。
I think there's no point being overly conscious of it. Tomoe recognized there were physical differences between men and women, so it was foolish to think they could produce completely equal results in the first place. Also, her male superiors and colleagues have been doing business as usual without giving female workers extreme discrimination or cold treatment. In reality, it was probably still present. But Tomoe didn't really see it, so she was convinced it wasn't there.
まあ、君の職場は恵まれていたのだろうな。
Well, you're fortunate to have a comfortable workplace.
他のところでは男女格差のひどい話も確かに耳にしている。
I hear terrible stories of gender disparity elsewhere.
その意味ではプロデューサーの言いたいこともわからないではない。
With that in mind, I can understand why the producer wanted to ask about it.
確かにそうかもしれません。
Indeed, that may be so.
私の場合は逆に女であったからこそ活躍の機会をいただけたこともありました。
But in my case, it was the complete opposite. It was specifically because I was a woman that I've had these opportunities for success. Especially when she was assigned to the youth division back when she first became an officer, using her position as a woman allowed her to connect with young women who would have struggled to open up to a man. Women are a little more open-minded with other women, to an extent, and willing to listen. Skipping school, delinquency, minor offenses, They weren't isolated incidents. These were girls who had problems at home. Tomoe was sometimes strict around those girls, sometimes tried to appeal to their parents and provide guidance and encouragement, patiently keeping in touch with them and consulting with them every day. Sometimes they betrayed her along the way, sometimes they violently retaliated. It's Monday. Mixed results on the reading here. And even after all she did, in the end, there were cases where she couldn't save them. More than she could even remember. She felt intense sorrow and regret every single time. On the other hand, the girls who turned things around would write her letters, and she stopped by the shops and facilities where they worked to see them smiling. It made her tremendously happy. Even though word about Tomoe's honest and sincere work ethic carried through to her evaluations, her superiors and the section chiefs would always dote on her because she was a woman. That's why, when she was aiming to become a detective, she was also worried that they'd be supporting her for the same reason. Minai-kun has a personality that displays powerful empathy for the person she's speaking to. But sometimes you can lose your normal judgment when you get emotional. When investigating an incident, instead of thinking about it the way you did in your youth leadership time, it's better to take 2 or 3 steps back and think it over.
2歩3歩ですか?
2 or 3 steps? That's right, although you might think that it's holding back. But if you get overly eager, it'll only cause you pain later on, you know? In fact, things ended up just like that. The first case she was involved with as a detective involved a man who was repeatedly stabbed at home. The culprit was a woman roughly the same age as Tomoe, who was having an affair with the victim. She seemed quiet and obedient during the initial round of questioning, so Tomoe was convinced there was no way it could be her. So, when her boss and superiors began investigating her as a possible suspect, she fought back against them for not believing her. However, the female employee later confessed to the crime and was arrested. She said she committed the crime herself after he broke up with her. And on top of that, she was pregnant.
あんなやつ殺されて当然だ.
It's only natural for scum like that to be killed or get killed. Tomoe, who had carefully considered the despair and helplessness the culprit felt as a female employee, rebuked the victim's disloyalty with those words. But on the other hand, not only was the bereaved family stricken with grief from the loss of a husband and father, word of his infidelity got out. As a result, sympathy the family received from others turned to curiosity and derision. They ended up selling their house a year later and moving far away.
結局事件が解決して誰も救われなかった.
In the end, the case was solved, but it didn't help anyone. But if the case had remained unsolved, that pitiable female employee wouldn't have gone to prison, and the victim's family could have grieved for him without losing their love for him, then moved on with their lives. The police shattered their peaceful illusion, leaving nothing else behind. Thinking about it made her uncomfortable. Tomoe looked up once again and stared at the back of the man in front of her. The person who solved the woman's problem. Even now it was hard to believe, but it was actually the man walking in front of her, Yamaoki. At the time, Yamaoki was serving as a public security commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Agency. Tomoe understood that it would be difficult to consult with someone about the man's incident, but there was nobody else she could talk to. And when her worries piled up, she asked him for advice. Yamaoki made time outside of work hours for her.
いや別にそれは刑事に限らない悩みだと思うわね。
I don't think this is a problem limited to detectives.
君が以前に勤めていた少年課でも同様の事件に関わる機会があったはずだ。
Even in the youth department where you were working before, I'm sure you had to work cases like this.
はい、確かにありました。
Yes, that's certainly true.
ただ当時は少年たちへの心のケアが本務で事件の捜査には関わっていませんでした。
However, the main focus of my work back then was emotional support for the kids involved, rather than directly investigating the cases in question.
ですから犯罪者や被害者、そしてその関係者を単純に憎悪したり同情したりするだけでよかったのです。
So all I had to do was hate the criminals and sympathize with the victims, as well as the others involved with them.
でも いざ刑事として捜査に関わってみると、そういった人たちの生活をここまで変えてしまう立場にいるのかと実感して、正直愕然としてしまいました。
But once I started participating in investigations as a detective, I realized that I was in a position to completely change the lives of the people involved. Honestly, it's terrifying. At the time, she thought all that mattered was investigating the crimes and arrest the culprits. She believed that by doing that properly, she could clear the consciences of the people left behind, and the criminals could receive a reward fitting their crimes. Man, I hate some words. I hate reading and stumbling on words. But what about the outcome of this particular case? The case was settled, but it didn't make anyone happy. And if that's the case, for whose sake did the police investigate the case for in the first place?
私が未熟で甘すぎるのかもしれません。
I may be too soft and immature.
数多く毎日のように起こる事件の中の一つで、いちいち気にしては身が持たないということも承知しております。
There are so many incidents like this that happen every day. I understand that I don't need to stress over everything.
ですが、
But even so,
最初の事件にしては荷が勝ちすぎる事件に当たったものだな。
this is certainly a heavy load to bear on your very first case.
いや、だからこそ君にとっては幸運だったのかもしれん。
But this might actually be fortunate for you,
早い時期にその悩みを持つことができたのだから。
because you were able to endure this suffering early on.
これが幸運ですか？
This is fortunate? Tomoe was taken aback by what Yamaoki said. She expected him to comfort her, to say not to worry about it, but she never expected him to say something completely contrary to that.
ああ、そうだ。
Yes, that's right.
現実の事件はテレビドラマのように完全懲悪というわけにはいかないものだ。
Real cases don't have the poetic justice you see in TV dramas.
犯人を必ず逮捕できるという確証もなければ、逮捕によって全ての問題が解決するとも限らない。
There's no guarantee you can arrest the culprit, and an arrest doesn't always solve the problem.
そして君が今話してくれた事件のように、新たな問題と19が生まれ出る可能性も決して低くはないだろう。
Just like the incident you told me about now, there's always a realistic probability that new problems and suffering will be born from the investigation.
はい。
Right.
しかしそこに私情を挟むことなく、刑事は常に中立で公平でなければいけないのだ。
But, regardless of their personal feelings, detectives must always remain fair and impartial.
犯人にも被害者にもその家族にも、そして法に対してもな。
To the perpetrators, to the victims, to their families, and to the law.
だからこそ人は不幸な事件に遭遇した時には正義の規範として警察を頼り、そして犯罪に走りそうになる輩はその存在を意識して自らを律する。
That way, when a person experiences an unfortunate incident, they're able to depend on the police to carry out justice and investigate the crime according to that standard.
正義。
Justice? When he said that, she didn't hear the words so much as she felt them. The words coming from his mouth had a mysterious, majestic feeling to them.
でも、その結果として誰も幸せにならなかったとしてもですか？
But even if nobody will be happy with the result?
そうだ。
Indeed. Yamaoki answered that question in a powerful tone.
法や正義は常に一定で不変であるからこそ人々はそれを遵守しようと考える。
The law and justice are constant. It's because they are immutable that people are able to comply.
そしてその枠から外れてしまうような行為を違法や犯罪として戒めることができる。
And so, we can admonish any act that falls outside of those boundaries as an unlawful crime.
結果としてそれが大部分の人を救うことにつながるのだよ。
The end result is that we can help the people more often than not. Crimes are caused by various motivations, impulsive emotions, selfish calculation, misguided pleasure seeking. However, cause and the end result can never justify a crime. Otherwise, a person with wicked intentions in similar circumstances would be able to easily justify similar crime. The thought that it's not just me would erode their sense of guilt and self-control.
では、そのためには少数の悲劇には目をつぶるべきなんでしょうか？
So, in order to accomplish that, you're saying we should turn a blind eye to a few tragedies?
いや、そうとは言わない。
No, it's not what I'm saying.
しかし簡単に答えを見出せるものでないことも確かだ。
There's definitely no easy answer for this.
そのためにも巴君、君はもっと悩みたまえ。
With that in mind, Tomoe-kun, you're going to experience even more suffering.
そして少数の悲劇をいかにすれば回避できるのか、自分なりの見解を出してみてはどうかね。
And I value your thoughts on what we can do to keep these tragedies to a minimum.
山沖さん。
Yamaoki-san.
それに君は自分が感情的だと言ったが、優しさを失った人間に刑事の資格はない。
Besides, you said you were emotional, but any human without compassion is unfit to be a detective.
その意味はきっと刑事を続けるうちに理解できるようになる。
Sure that if you continue being a detective, you'll eventually understand the meaning of that.
だから君は今の考え方をこれからも忘れずに持ち続けることだ。
So, never forget those feelings you have right now. Keep holding on to them.
はい。
Understood.
あの時はそれなりに感動したのにな。
I was deeply moved back then, but now... She let out a sigh. She wanted to let it all out. It was hard to believe that the same man from back then was normally such a lazy and spontaneous person.
どうしたね、ミナイ君。
You ever just stumble on a word like a couple times, so then you're just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna say the word. I'll show that word. I'll show that word who's boss. Yeah, Monday reading brain. Not the top performing brain state. But I'm trying my best. It's not firing on all cylinders. What's wrong, Minai-kun?
Eh?
Huh?
ああ、いえ。
Oh, it's nothing. She suddenly turned away, trying to chase away the memories that came to mind a moment ago. She was embarrassed.
なに、心配はいらんぞ。
Come on, you don't have to be worried.
地図だともう付近まで来ている。
The map says we're almost there. Facetious. I had to show that word. I had to go back and literally my tongue was just like my brain was trying to get it out, but my tongue was not cooperating. So like I know the word and I know how to say the word. It was more that I was just incapable of getting it out, you know? Vulnerable reading. Come on, you don't have to be worried. The map says we're almost there.
だからおそらくこの辺りのはずなんだが。
So it should be right around here.
せっかくですが。
Even after all this effort?
私もう一人で。
I might just go on my own. She said that intending to part ways with him, but just that moment.
お、あった。
Oh, there it is. Huh?
ここですか?
Huh? This is it? Yamaoki was looking up with a sense of accomplishment, and Tomoe turned to look at the same direction. Oh god, it's Angel Mort. Jesus. It looked like an ordinary family-friendly restaurant. It certainly seemed popular, though. A line of people extended out the entrance and down the sidewalk. However, people there had an unusual air about them, and a stench that Tomoe had never tasted before. Gross. She couldn't help but frown.
ここが本当に東京でも指折りの店なんですか?
Is this seriously a distinguished Tokyo restaurant?
ああ、チェーン店なんだがね。味もサービスもなかなかの評判だ。
That's right. It's a chain restaurant, but the taste and service are well regarded.
君は知らなかったのか?
You haven't heard of it?
いえ、私はこういう店はあまり。
No, these sorts of shops aren't really my thing. Cooking for herself was more economical than going out to eat at family restaurants, and Tomoe is confident in her cooking skills. So, Tomoe didn't go out to eat much after finishing school, aside from hamburgers.
まあまあ、見ない君。
Oh dear, Minai-kun.
先入観で決めつけてはよくないぞ。
It's not right to arbitrarily condemn things based on preconceptions.
疑ってかかるのはまず入ってからにしないか。
Instead of doubting it, why not step inside first?
はあ
Even so, that stench was extremely suspicious. And when it came to family restaurants, she had a strong impression they were just heating up frozen, ready-made products, in which case it would be better to just buy a boxed lunch at a convenience store. You can eat a delicious lunch here, at a chain restaurant? It seemed unbelievable.
からかってるのか
Is this a prank? With that thought in mind, Tomoe turned to the store again with a dubious expression. Then, she suddenly noticed a poster next to the stairs leading up to the entrance and carefully focused her eyes to read it. Fall Dessert Festival in Session, Tokyo Area Exclusive Menu. Private event today, please present invitation upon entry.
所長
Chief?
今日招待状がないと入れないって書いてありますけど
It says here you can't enter today without an invitation.
招待状とはこれのことかね。
An invitation like this? Yamaoke pulled a ticket out of his inner jacket pocket as he said that, and proudly waved it around for some reason. There was a colorful pattern printed on the ticket, and Dessert Festival Invitation was written there in a lovely font.
いやいや、これを手に入れるのは大変だった。
Seriously, it was hard to get this.
有志一同からスタンプを集めて、その上でとびきりくじ運の強いやつを送り込んで当選を買い上げて。
You have to collect stamps from volunteers and send them in. Then be lucky enough to be selected.
しかしまあ、それだけの価値は十分にあるものだ。
And despite all that, it's worth it.
君は運がいいぞ、ミナイ君。
You're quite fortunate, Minai-kun.
ああどうも
Oh, well, thanks. Though she said that, Tomoe wasn't sure how valuable it actually was, so she didn't know how to express her gratitude.
さあ、遠慮はいらん。
Well, no sense holding back.
入りたまえ、ミナイ君。
Let's go inside, Minai-kun.
はあ
Sure. Though Tomoe still felt something was out of place about the tremendously bright pink exterior wall, for the time being she decided to take the initiative and open the door. Then she followed Yamaoke inside. And, the moment she stepped inside the lobby of the restaurant... Welcome home! What? A young waitress who must have been ready and waiting greeted Tomoe and Yamaoke with a big smile on her face, then deeply bowed her head. That much was a completely ordinary interaction. However, the thing that took Tomoe by surprise was what she was wearing. It was a maid outfit that went far beyond the line of cuteness into erotic.
所長
Chief?
ここは一体
What on earth is this place?
旦那様、ひょっとして初めてのお帰りですか？
Master? Is this perhaps your first time coming here? Or coming home?
いや、彼女はそうだがね。
Well, that's the case for her.
私はこういうものだ。
As for me, I have one of these. Then, Yamaoke pulled his police notebook out of his breast pocket, and from there, he pulled out a bright holographic card that sparkled in 7 different colors.
これは
This is... The waitress's eyes opened wide the moment she saw it. But, just a moment later, a huge smile returned to her face. She grabbed both ends of her skirt and deeply bowed down in an even more submissive and courteous manner than before.
ああ、長らくの海外へのご出張、本当にお疲れ様でした。
It's a little much. Thank you very much for your hard work overseas.
皆さん、ロシュホール大公爵様のお帰りです。
To everyone, the Grand Duke of Rochefort has returned to us. All the maids in the store serving tables and handling orders in the kitchen area turned to face the entrance.
お帰りなさいませ、大公爵様。
Jeez. Oh, welcome home, Grand Duke. Just like that, they all burst out chanting a greeting in unison. And then Yamaoke calmly remained still while answering them with a nod. However, yeah, I'm in her camp. Tomoe was feeling completely out of place. She was frozen where she stood. What? Oh.
どうしたミナイ君
What's wrong, Minaiku?
なんですかここは。
What is this place? So I finally came free from the spell entrapping her and shouted loud enough to echo throughout the entire store. The guests in line all immediately turned toward the entrance in response, but Yamaoki must have anticipated this reaction because he remained completely composed.
何って
What is it?
見ての通りメイド喫茶だが
As you can see, it's a maid cafe.
さも当然のことのように言わないでください。
Don't say that so casually.
一体メイド喫茶って何ですか？
What on earth is a maid cafe?
私は美味しい昼食があるレストランに来たんですよ。
I came to have a delicious lunch at a restaurant, you know?
ああ言い間違えたな
Oh, I must have misspoken.
ここはメイド喫茶レストランだ
This is a maid cafe restaurant.
ちょっと言い方変えただけでしょ。
That's just a slightly different version of what you just said.
大体さっきのロシュフォール大公爵って何なんですか？
And what were they saying earlier about the Grand Duke of Rochefort?
お聞きたいかね
Oh, you want to hear about that?
いいえ、聞きたくありません。
No, I don't want to hear it.
ロシュフォールというのはかの有名な三重詩に出てきた赤眼の剣士にあやかっての名称だ
Rochefort is the name of the one-eyed swordsman from the famous Three Musketeers story.
そして大公爵とは来店ポイントが10万以上貯まった常連客にのみ許される称号で日本全国でもまだ5人もいるかどうかの
And Grand Duke is a title only bestowed to regular customers who have accumulated over 100,000 visiting points. There are only 5 people all across Japan with the title.
だから聞きたくないって言ったでしょうが。
Didn't I just say I didn't want to hear it?
何をエキサイトしている
Ooh, what are you getting so worked up about?
あんたがそうさせてるんだっぺ。
You're the one responsible for this! Tomoe shouted with enough force that the blood vessels on her temple were about to burst. No. Wait a minute. What if this is the real purpose of the business trip to Tokyo?
ふざけんな。
What bullshit! Tomoe desperately fought the urge to punch something, but not wanting to get any more involved, she turned on her heels and put a hand on the knob of the front door.
どこに行くのかね
Oh, where are you going?
冗談じゃありません。
You can't be serious.
私は失礼します。
Please excuse me.
一人で好きなだけお召し上がりになってください。
You can enjoy all you want on your own.
あ、お嬢様、
Lady,
本日秋のデザートフェスタの日なんですが、
today's the day of the fall dessert festival.
デザートフェスタだかなんだか知りませんが興味ありません。
I don't know what a dessert festival is, but I'm not interested.
私はランチを食べに来たんです。
I came to have lunch.
まあまあ
Oh dear.
俺せっかくだからメニューだけでも見ていかんか
Here, it's too much trouble to give the menu a look.
だからケーキなんて食べる気分じゃありません。
I'm not in the mood to eat cake.
大体なんで無才おっさんと向き合ってスイーツなんて。
Besides, I'm not interested in sharing sweets with a dirty old man. After vigorously spewing that and turning toward the waitresses, Tomoe's anger quickly faded away, and her gaze fixated on a single point. The waitress was spreading a menu out before Tomoe's eyes, and inside were photos of vibrant, beautiful, delicious-looking multicolored sweets with colorful decorations. Tomoe was a woman after all, so there was no way she could hate sweets. In fact, she loved them. Man, all women love sweets. Not only that, but since she was feeling hungry at the moment, her appetite for them was 2, maybe 3 times stronger than usual. She had never seen such a beautiful flower garden of sweets in a normal restaurant. She rushed to wipe away the saliva, gross, that was about to drip down from her mouth, but her eyes didn't turn away from the menu for even a moment.
どうだねミナイ君
How about it, Minaiku?
写真ならどうとでも綺麗に見せられるものです。
Anything can be made to look nice in pictures.
所詮実物はこんなに。
The real thing couldn't possibly look like...
すみません。
Pardon me!
新作ケーキ入ります。
Fresh cake coming through! Thanks to some impeccable timing, a fresh cake came out of the kitchen, being pushed on a handcart, and it passed directly in front of Tomoe.
何よこのものすごくいい香りは。
Ooh, what is that incredible aroma? Even though it only passed by her for a moment, the sweet, rich fragrance drifting toward her completely robbed her of her senses. I muted myself in time for the sneeze. Ah, and not only that, but the vivaciously colorful design was burned into her retinas. She had purchased cakes several times in her life as a modest luxury to celebrate a milestone, but they couldn't even compare. In fact, wouldn't it be outrageously audacious to compare them at all?
お嬢様
Milady,
別に私は
don't get me wrong.
食事がしたいだけでスイーツはその
I just want to have a meal, not those sweet.
受け入れたまえ、ミナイ君。
Accepted, Minai-kun.
どんなに羽目を外しすぎても失うものはプライドだけだ。
No matter how much you fight it, the only thing you'll lose is your pride.
失ってたまるか。
You think I've lost? Even as Tomoe screamed that in her head, her eyes remained fixated on the cake being carried to the table. She was starting to feel bloodlust toward the ecstatic customer sitting in front of the colorful cake.
今日のメインはマンゴーのタルトとメロン尽くしの
The main item for today is the mango tart with melon accents. Is that what they call this cake? With all the fruit decorating the top, you can't even see the surface.
本日は1日限定でストロベリーのタルトもご用意できます。
Oh, and for today only, we're also preparing strawberry tarts.
いかがでしょうか。
What do you think?
ちなみにこの食事代は私が元。
By the way, this meal is on me,
遠慮なく好きなだけ食べたまえ。
so don't hold back. Eat as much as you like. I'm actually surprised. I'm honestly surprised I didn't put two and two together and figure that he was taking her to. Once they started talking about a restaurant, I should have known it was gonna be an Angel Mort bit. I'm so off my game, you know. Eat as much as you like. Yep, we read that.
禁煙席どこですか。
Where's the non-smoking section? Got her. And at last, Tomoe finally abandoned her pride.
いやいや、結構食べたな、ミナイ君。
Wow, you ate a lot, Minai-kun.
どうだ、満足かね。
So, you satisfied?
別に
Not really.
甘いものでは昼食をとった気にはなれませんので。
Even after all the sweets, it doesn't really feel like I've had lunch. After saying that, Tomoe turned to look away. However, she happily enjoyed eating sweets to her heart's content. Every time Tomoe's cheeks seemed to puff out, she poured some black coffee down her throat.
はあ、でももうケーキはしばらく食べられなくてもいいかも。
But maybe I shouldn't have a cake for a while. Of course, she had already ingested a ridiculous number of calories. She considered going for a swim tomorrow at the public pool, but as she thought about it, she signaled for the waitress to pour her some more coffee.
しかしまあ、噂通りの大食いだな。
I've heard rumors of your eating habits, but wow.
ホールケーキ4つ分とは予想していなかったぞ。
Never expected you to eat 4 whole cakes.
今さら割り勘って言っても出しませんからね。
Don't you dare suggest splitting the bill.
男に二言はない。
Man doesn't go back on his word. Although Yamaoki handled it as though he expected as much, even after watching Tomoe's gluttony with his own eyes, he showed no signs of being upset.
ちょっとは驚いてみせろってな。
He should at least act a little surprised. She wasn't particularly interested in boasting about her gluttony, but it was awkward how easily he accepted it.
それにしても、さすがはユウスケの娘か。
Anyway, expect no less from Yusuke's daughter.
血は争えんな。
Like father, like daughter. Tomoe's expression hardened as soon as she heard that name. She picked up her cup, but the cup was still too hot, so she sat back down on the saucer and took a drink from the cold cup next to it. Yusuke was her father's name.
こんなところで父譲りと言われるのはなんとも複雑な気分ですな。
I have mixed feelings about you mentioning my father in a place like this.
よく覚えているぞ。
can still remember it perfectly.
過激派の立てこもる山荘への突入作戦では危険も顧みずよく働いてくれた。
He ignored the danger and pushed himself hard during that mountain villa infiltration operation.
放水と夜の寒さで警視庁と地元警察の刑事全員が震える中、カップラーメンをかっくらいながらみんなをどやしつけていた姿。
On that cold, rainy night, all the detectives from the Metropolitan Police Department and local police were trembling, and he was giving them hell while downing a bowl of instant noodles.
今でも忘れてはいない。
Even now, I'll never forget it. Police use of firearms was severely restricted by law. It's reserved exclusively for dangerous criminals. So, the means of fighting the criminal group in the mountain villa was to discharge water at them and let the winter cold take care of them. However, the criminals opened fire at them, and apparently some of the officers died in line of duty back then. Her father would always say, "I'll keep on going as a police officer for their share," anytime he drank alcohol. Yet ironically, he ended up following in the footsteps not even a year later.
家でも父はカップラーメンが好きでした。
Even at home, my father loved instant noodles.
私もよく勝負だとかなんとか言って早食いに付き合わされたものです。
I often ate them too. We'd compete to eat them as fast as possible.
まどかは逃げていましたけどね。
Although, Madoka was always running away. Incidentally, Tomoe never did beat her father in those competitions. He was an overwhelmingly voracious eater. However, thanks to that, he was scolded like hell by his doctor and wife every time he had a checkup.
すまんな、この話をぶり返して。
Sorry for bringing up that story.
こうやって君と二人で話をするのも久しぶりだったものでな。
It's just been a long time since the two of us have been able to talk one-on-one like this.
ですね。
Indeed. Yamoke and Tomoe didn't always have such a harsh relationship. In fact, she would greet him any time she got a promotion, consulted with him whenever she found a clue related to her father's case. Even since long ago, he was the one police officer she trusted and respected most.
警察に入る前からつてのなかった私にいろいろと情報をくださったこと感謝しています。
I'm grateful for all the information you've provided me, even though I started as a police officer.
おかげで自分一人では絶対にわからなかったこともつかむことができて、今も続けることができています。
Thanks to that, I've been able to learn information I never would have been able to find on my own, and I can continue the search, even now. Meeting Yamoke was one of the reasons that Tomoe decided to pursue becoming a police officer. When her younger sister Madoka ran away, Tomoe lost her purpose for living, but then she met Oishi and learned more about her father's incident. After searching for Madoka for a while after her sudden disappearance, while thoroughly exhausted and being battered by the rain, she met Oishi for the first time. Out of concern for her, he escorted her home. And then, she looked up in surprise when she learned said home was actually his own destination.
ここがあなたの家?
This is your house?
じゃあ、あなたがミナイさんの娘さんですか?
Then, are you Minai-san's daughter?
はい、
Yes,
長女の巴です。
I'm the older daughter, Tomoe.
そうですか。あなたが。
So that's who you are.
いや、すみませんね。
Oh, please forgive me.
亡くなられていた話を知ったのが、つい最近だったもので。
I only recently found out that he passed away.
お線香をあげさせてもらってもよろしいでしょうか?
Would it be alright for me to burn a stick of incense in his honor?
はい、
Oh, sure.
どうぞ。
Go ahead. Then, after explaining the situation to her grandmother, Oishi entered the house and clapped his hands together in front of the Buddhist altar in the living room. She couldn't make out his facial expression very well from behind, but she could hear a faint sigh that indicated how he was feeling.
ミナイさんとはずっと昔の事件でご一緒しましてね。
Minai-san and I worked together on a case a long time ago.
二人の娘さん、あなたたちの写真を肌身離さず持っていて、ずいぶん自慢されたものです。
He was always carrying a photo of his two daughters close to him. He was extremely proud of both of you.
偉くなった時にはとびっきりの酒を送るって約束していたんですが。
I promised I would get drunk together after I became a big shot. Tears came gushing out of Tomoe's eyes. The grief she had been feeling all this time combined with Madoka's disappearance took a heavy toll on her, and it wouldn't stop. Damn it. She had already convinced herself she wouldn't cry in front of the other people.
何があったのかは知りませんが、元気を出してください。
I don't know what happened, but please cheer up.
でないと、殺されたご両親が浮かばれませんよ。
Otherwise, your parents won't be able to rest in peace.
だったら父さんと母さんを殺した犯人捕まえてくださいよ。
Then please catch the criminal who killed my mom and dad.
私たちの生活をめちゃめちゃにしてどこかでまだのうのうと生きているのに。
He ruined our lives, but he's still living a carefree life out there. Tomoe knew it was unreasonable, but she couldn't help but lash out at Oishi, who was standing right in front of her. However, he paid no heed, instead put a hand on her shoulder to comfort her.
大丈夫ですよ。
It's alright.
それは、ミナイさんの同僚の方たちが、今も必死に探してくれていますから。
Minasan's colleagues are desperately searching, even now.
きっと捕まります。絶対ね。
I'm certain they'll catch the killer. His hand was large and very warm, and so tears came spilling from her eyes once again.
それで、巴さんとおっしゃいましたね。
Now then, Tomoe-san, was it?
実は、私はあなたに少しお伺いしたいことがあるんです。
The truth is, there's something I want to ask you.
私にですか？
Something to ask me?
ええ。ミナイさんが死ぬ間際まで追っていた、とある事件のことです。
That's right. About the case. Father was investigating up until he died.
私はそいつらが彼を殺害したと信じています。
I believe those people were the ones who murdered him. After hearing Oishi say that, Tomoe couldn't help but gasp. She was speechless. Mom and Dad were murdered? It wasn't just a random crime from a reckless arsonist or vagrant, but a planned conspiracy?
今日はもう遅いですから、明日改めてお伺いします。
It's getting late today, so I'll visit you again tomorrow.
その時、ミナイさんの上司だった方もここにお連れしますので。
When I do, I'll be bringing along your father's old boss.
話、聞かせてもらってもよろしいでしょうか。
So, would you be willing to tell us what you know? And the next day, Oishi introduced her to Yamaoki, who was her father's boss. That just went to show how they had full confidence in her. And the one who encouraged her to become a police officer was none other than Yamaoki. He asked if instead of relying on others, she wanted to carve out her own fate. Cut out her... He asked if others... Breathe? Okay. He asked if instead of relying on others, she wanted to carve out her fate with her own hands. There we go. That's why Tomoe was able to consult with him, almost as though he were a parent. The relationship only went sour after last year, only after he and Madoka.
マドカ君のことでは君にすまないと思っている。
You have reservations about the relationship between Madoka and I'm sorry for that.
年がいもなくと責められるのももちろん承知の上だ。
I'm well aware of the age difference, of course.
だが、
However,
その件では謝ってもらいたくないです。
I'm not interested in receiving an apology.
それを聞いたらあの子、きっと悲しむと思いますから。
If she heard about it, it would only make her depressed.
そうだな。
Indeed. Yamaoki said only that and understood everything. Madoka had already decided to marry Yamaoki. If he felt any shame about it now, it could be seen as looking down on Madoka's feelings. No matter what she was thinking, she had already made up her mind.
むしろ感情的になって意固地になってあなたに失礼なことを言ってきたことは謝らせてください。
In fact, please let me apologize for being stubborn, emotional, and all for the unspeakable things I've said to you.
あなたはずっと私にとって父のような存在でしたから。
You've always been like a father to me.
自分でもどう対応していいかがわからなくてつい甘えてしまっていたのだと思います。
So, I think I didn't know how to handle it and ended up acting like a spoiled brat.
いや、それは気にしなくてもいい。
No, don't worry about it.
むしろ私はこの年まで独り身だったからな。
In fact, I've been all alone until recently.
親子ゲームのようなやりとりもなかなかに楽しいものだ。
These parent and child games are rather fun. Tomoe smiled awkwardly, but her attention lay elsewhere. Should she make certain of it right here now? This was a great opportunity to ask Yamoki about the rumors and his feelings for Madoka. Do you truly love Madoka? Did Madoka ask you to do something for me? Yamoki had to know about the rumors regarding him and Madoka. If she asked about it, he would probably give a straight answer. However, she also understood that the question was too wretched and despicable to ask.
やっぱり聞けないや。
In the end, I can't ask. So, Tomoe ended up swallowing the impulse and opted to ask him about something else.
山沖所長、
Chief Yamaoki,
あなたにお伺いしたいことがあります。
there's something I need to ask you.
前からいつか機会があれば知りたいと思っていたことです。
There's something I wanted to ask you whenever an opportunity came up.
正直に聞かせてください。
Please be honest with me.
何かね。
What is it?
あなたが去年警視庁の公安からこの書き打ちに来て、今年になって私も呼んでくださったのは。
You came to Kakuichi from the Public Safety Division of the Metropolitan Police Department last year. You invited me here this year.
父の件で何か進展があったということですか？
Is it because of some progress on my father's case?
おお。
Ever so slightly, Yamoki furrowed his eyebrows and stared straight ahead, directly at Tomoe. However, she couldn't read anything from his facial expression.
どうしてそう考える？
Why do you think that?
だってそうでもなければ私が関東管区局から中部管区局に異動になった理由がわかりません。
Because otherwise, I can't think of a reason for transferring from a station in the Kanto region to the Chubu region.
事例としてはあまりないと何人かの関係者からも聞きました。
And several other related parties say there aren't many precedents for that. Executive candidate police officers are often transferred to various locations to gather experience as part of their training. However, the fact that Tomoe was transferred from the Kanto region to the Chubu region was an exceptional case that could only be accomplished with a very strong request. Yamoki raised his glass of coffee to his mouth and carefully stared at Tomoe as he took a sip. Her eyes looked just like they did back when Oishi first introduced him to her.
巴君。
Tomoe-kun.
はい。
Yes? Tomoe felt a little surprised by that response. It had been a long time since he had referred to her by her first name.
君はまだ両親の仇を追うつもりかね。
Are you still chasing the person who killed your parents?
当然です。
Of course.
恨んでいるか犯人を。
So you still hold a grudge against the perpetrator? Tomoe quietly bit her lip. There was no need to answer. Her expression made it abundantly clear.
もう11年だ。
It's been 11 years.
ユウスケも十分によくやったと君のことを誇りに思うだろ
I think Yusuke would be proud of all you've accomplished.
う。もうそろそろ自分の人生を取り戻してもいいんじゃないのかね。
But isn't it about time to move on with your life?
これが私の今の全てなんです。
Right now, this is everything to me.
両親が殺された事件を解決しない限り前には進めないんです。
I can't move forward until we solve my parents' murder.
君はそう思い込もうとしていないか。
Is that what you're trying to convince yourself of?
え？
Huh? Convinced. She had never thought about it in those words. And honestly, deep down, she felt insulted. She was following the case of her parents' murder, trying to find the person responsible. That was the goal she set for herself, even before deciding to become a police officer. It was Tomoe's greatest dream and aspiration, not some weak sentiment she had to convince herself of. Yet, why did he say it like that?
いや、すまんな。
No, sorry.
変な意味ではなかったのだが、そんな顔をしないでくれ。
I didn't mean anything weird by that, so please don't make that face. Tomoe quickly turned away as Yamaoki said that with a bitter smile on his face. What kind of face was she making?
残念だが、進展は何もない。
Unfortunately, there hasn't been any progress.
とりあえず君が捜査するにあたって、ここにいた方がいいと思っただけだ。
I just thought it would be better for you to carry out your investigation here.
そうですか。
I see. Even though she nodded to him, she still wasn't convinced. First off, if the intent was to make investigating her father's case easier, Tomoe could have simply been transferred to Prefectural Police HQ in Aichi, rather than Kakuji Station. Not to mention, Yamaoki had no reason to abandon his normal job and take a post in this town. Nevertheless, this man has been hiding something this whole time. Tomoe still couldn't understand his intentions.
話はそれだけかね?
Is that all you have to say?
すみませんでした。変なことをお伺いして。
I'm sorry for asking something so weird.
特急の時間も近いので失礼してもよろしいでしょうか。
It's almost time for my train, so would you please excuse me? With Yamaoki's consent, Tomoe rose to her feet, and then she walked out of the store without looking back.
なあ、ユウスケ。
Hey, Yusuke.
お前の娘は悪いところまでお前にそっくりだな。
Your daughter is just like you, down to all of your worst traits. As she left the store, the sun was beginning to set.
あっちが日比谷公園だから近くの駅まで歩くか。
That's Via Park right there, so I should be able to walk to the next station. This was our first time in Tokyo in a long time, so the buildings looked a little different, but the Kasumigaseki district was lined with government office buildings, so she had no doubt about where she was. Although she was feeling a little lost, turning to a police box to ask for directions would reflect poorly on her as a detective, so she resolved to reach her destination all on her own. Her head cooled off as she walked. She started to feel enough regret to make her body feel heavy.
やっぱりまどかとのことを聞いておくべきだったんだろうか。
I should have asked about Madoka. Even though it was a golden opportunity, she didn't have the courage to step up.
結局信じていないのかな。
In the end, maybe I just don't believe in them.
所長のこともまどかのことも。
The chief and Madoka. That thought started to make her feel depressed. In that case, it would have been better to make a big scene opposing their marriage. Just outside the station, the hustle and bustle of cars coming and going was quieter than expected, and instead she could hear the loud sound of a microphone. And a large number of people walking on the sidewalk stopped to turn their attention at something. All eligible voters in transit, please excuse the disturbance. She finally reached the end of the front of the crowd and had a good view. Loud noise was coming from an election campaign car.
ああ、そういえば総選挙が年末だったっけ。
Ah, come to think of it, elections are coming up at the end of the year.
お忙しい中誠に恐れ入ります。この場をお借りして今少し皆様の貴重なお時間をいただきたく存じます。
Pardon me, I know you're all busy. I would like to borrow just a moment of everyone's precious time. Question marks? Naturally, people stopped walking to turn toward the source of this loud voice. And then, after looking at the party and candidate names written on the banner on the side of the car, some resumed walking, but those who were at least a little interested continued listening attentively. Thank you very much for listening.
さて皆さんにお伺いします。我が国の医療制度、そして医薬事業は果たして十分と言えますでしょうか。
Now everyone, let me ask you this. Can you truly say that you're satisfied with the healthcare and the pharmaceutical businesses in our country?
現在様々な医薬品が一般のご家庭向けに販売されておりますが、その価格は高く、また効能も不確定のまま、甘つさえ副作用の危険もはらんでおります。
Right now, various medications are currently being sold to ordinary households, but the prices are high and their efficacy is uncertain. Plus, there are risks with side effects.
それらの問題点を解決するため、製薬会社や医学学会、そして研究所の方々が日夜血の滲むような臨床試験を重ねておりますが、
In order to solve those problems, pharmaceutical companies, medical experts, and laboratory staff have been working to get themselves to the bone, carrying out clinical trials day and night.
残念ながら最先端の知識と技術を誇る欧米諸国にはまだまだ及ぶべくもないというのが現状です。
Unfortunately, the way things are now, we'll never reach the level of knowledge and state-of-the-art technology present in Western countries.
そのため、これまで我が国の多くの医療機関では輸入製剤に頼るところが大きかったのですが、 それは医薬品に含まれる副作用を正確に把握できないデメリットを生じさせます。
For that reason, many Japanese medical institutions have been relying on imported pharmaceuticals, but that approach has the disadvantage that we can't accurately grasp the potential side effects of the medicine.
大変悲しいことではございますが、先年には皆様の記憶にも新しいローウェル社の薬害問題がございました。
It's a very sad thing, but I'm sure everyone still remembers the disastrous side effects caused by Lowell Inc. last year. Lowell Inc. The Lowell incident. Lowell Inc. is one of the largest businesses in its home country and regarded as one of the top 3 in the world among the pharmaceutical industry. Patients who took drugs manufactured by Lowell started suffering intense fevers one after another, sometimes with fatal results. The medicine was manufactured and sold for the purpose of treating mental disorders, but even from the start, there were questions about the source ingredients, and experts were speaking out in the name of public safety. Nevertheless, it passed through preliminary tests rather easily, began circulation as a medical product, in part due to the credibility of Lowell's corporate brand. But more than that, key personnel in the Pharmaceutical Safety Bureau and executive management received kickbacks as a sort of gratitude. The bribery came to light after a whistleblower made public accusations. And at the same time, they tried to cover it up, but once a series of patient deaths came to light, it became a massive scandal that destroyed the credibility of the medical world at the time. An unfortunate accident. The lives lost couldn't be so easily cleaned up, but the wrongdoers still lined their pockets. Things have stabilized by now, but the cabinet at the time completely collapsed, and the situation developed in a way that the majority of seats abandoned the major ruling party. After that, the review board, researchers, public welfare officials, and pharmaceutical company executives involved in the incident were arrested and prosecuted, and civil lawsuits were conducted by the victims and bereaved families. In addition to that, a former member of the Public Welfare Office in Parliament was arrested for their involvement behind the scenes, and the trial is scheduled for next year. However, for most people, it's a thing of the past. The ruling party eliminated key personnel and rebuilt itself in order to portray themselves as an unrelated third party. Ah, politics. The campaign official standing atop the election car continued fervently discussing her opinions with the audience. No, it wasn't a discussion, it was a one-sided rant. Because her eyes weren't facing the audience, but toward the red carpet beyond them.
そしてこの度、参議院選挙の冬の陣に参ります安川稔の応援演説で、現内閣で厚生大臣を務める千葉明彦議員にお越しいただきました。
And at this time, please welcome the current Minister of Health and Welfare, Akihiko Chiba, who is supporting Minoru Yasukawa in the upcoming Winter House of Councilors election.
皆様、しばらくのご清聴をよろしくお願いします。
Everyone, thank you very much for listening so patiently. As the thunderous applause rang out, Tomoe gazed up at the white-haired man standing atop the election car holding microphones in both hands. She had seen him on TV several times. He was the head of the major ruling party and was originally from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. He often appeared holding a large pipe and had a burning passion for medical reform. And if the House of Councilors elections proceed the way they're leaning, the House of Representatives elections next year will be completely settled. That's why a big shot like him was supporting this, to give himself more name recognition for his own campaign.
こちらにおります安川が先ほど申し上げました通り、我が国の医療制度には未だ課題が山積しております。
As Yasukawa has already said, there are still many problems within our medical system.
そもそも病気というものは目に見えるものだけではない、心にも影響を与える。
First and foremost, illness isn't merely a physical ailment, it can also affect the mind.
故にそれらを物理的に軽減し、あるいは解消するものが存在すれば、それを求めたいと思う気持ちは当然のものと考えます。
Therefore, I believe it's only natural for us to seek the means to alleviate or completely solve these problems.
しかし今、日本にはそれらを研究するための設備、そしてノウハウが少なすぎる。
However, Japan currently lacks the necessary research facilities and know-how.
これらを解決してこそ、欧米諸国にも被験する近代国家としての存在意義があり、国民の皆さんの悲願でもあります。
Only after solving these problems can our nation reach a modern level comparable to Western countries. That is my dearest wish for our citizens.
そして、
Also,
相変わらず意味わかんないな。
incomprehensible, as usual. As she grimaced from the throbbing of her eardrums, Tomoe made her way through the intently listening crowd. First off, it was hard to trust the word of someone talking about our nation and citizens. After all, they do whatever they want and just make it sound good to plausibly justify their actions. Arguing it's for the sake of others is one thing, but actually doing it in practice is a big deal. But when it doesn't go well for those people, they won't admit their mistakes. They don't have the courage to go back and start over. It's completely selfish to run away, but isn't it odd how the people don't hold them accountable?
あれ見ない
Huh? Minai?
Eh?
Huh? Just then, a man wearing a suit and passing out flyers looked up at Tomoe with a surprised expression, and after carefully examining her face, he suddenly began to smile.
ああやっぱり見ないだ
It's a man! Ah, it's really you, Minai!
懐かしいな元気か
It's been so long. Are you doing well?
あ、はい。
Yeah. She ambiguously nodded and embarrassedly scratched her neck while thinking, who is this? But Tomoe caught her breath as soon as she remembered.
先輩
Senpai?
塚田先輩ですか？
Sukata Senpai?
おいおい俺のこともう忘れたのか
Hold on, have you forgotten about me?
ちょっと悲しいな
Now that's a little depressing.
そりゃわかんないですよ。
Well, yeah, of course I didn't know it was you.
なんか見違えちゃったし。
I could hardly recognize you. While saying that, Tomoe took another look at the young man. Osamu Sukata.
本当に見違えちゃったな。
It's a new guy I have to remember. Seriously, I couldn't recognize him. He was our senior on the high school track and field team, an ace at short distance running. He regularly competed in national competitions, and he was popular around the school. Tomoe had vague memories of the time. Even when she decided to quit the track team, he persuaded her to reconsider until the end, and even after she officially withdrew, they still stayed close and talked with each other. Nonetheless, they became separated after Tomoe entered Ibaraki University, and they lost contact.
それにしても塚田先輩、今は何をやっておられるんですか？
It's always weird. You somehow bump into someone from like your high school days that you like weren't even in contact with anymore. It's awkward. Because usually you lose contact for like, I don't want to say necessarily a good reason, but for an understandable reason. So when that connection is then restarted, it's... anyway, what are you doing now, Sukata Senpai?
俺か
Senpai, I could say senpai a bunch. Me?
聞いて驚け
Feast your eyes on this.
実は今とある大吉先生の秘書を務めているのさ
Actually, I'm working as a secretary for a certain congressman.
とあるって
A certain...
Eh?
What? Then Tomoe looked at the flyers in his hand, and there, she saw the face of the Minister of Health and Welfare, Chiba, who was giving that speech on the election card just a moment ago.
ひょっとしてこの千葉厚生
How
大臣
awkward.
の
Is it perhaps Minister Chiba?
なその通り
Exactly.
この千葉先生の第二秘書ってわけだ
I'm Chiba Sensei's second secretary.
と言ってもこうやってビラ配りに精を出しているあたり様にはなっていないけどな
Although, handing out flyers like this isn't what I signed up for.
そんなことないですよ。
Don't say that.
かっこいいです。とっても。
That's really cool. Yeah, right. Handing out flyers. That's really cool. Tomoe responded from the bottom of her heart. Come to think of it, Sukata did once say he was pursuing the Department of Political Science and Economics because he wanted to become a politician. And the college he ended up attending was a high-ranking private university that has produced a lot of Congress members in the past. But the enrollment fee was far higher than Tomoe could manage.
夢に向かって頑張ってるんですね。すごいです。
You're doing your best to pursue your dreams. That's amazing.
この調子だと議員先生になる日も近そうですね。
At the rate you're going, you'll be a legislator yourself before long.
それはまだまだ
That's still a long ways out.
今はひたすら先生のカバン持ちとビラ配りで勉強中さ
For now, I'm just carrying the boss's bags, passing out flyers, and studying.
がところでミナイは今何やってるんだ
By the way, Minai, what are you up to nowadays?
あ、私は
Huh? Me? She hesitated for a moment. After listening to that whole campaign speech, somehow she couldn't bring herself to say, I'm a detective.
ちょっと今日は出張で東京に出てきまして。
I'm in Tokyo today for a brief business trip.
今は愛知の柿内ってところで働いています。
Right now, I'm working in Kakiuchi, Aichi Prefecture.
柿内
Kakiuchi.
へえ、そうなんだ。
Wow, I see.
千葉先生の地元からも近いんだな。
That's close to Chiba Sensei's hometown.
そうなんですか？
Huh? Really? Come to think of it, she did seem to recall seeing him on a poster somewhere in town. However, she didn't realize it was a congressman as important as the Minister of Health and Welfare.
俺も来年からは選挙活動でお国入りする予定だから、ひょっとしたらどこかで会えるかもな。なんて。
I'm scheduled to head to that area for next year's campaign, so maybe we can meet up somewhere? What do you say?
もし会えたら、今度は飯でも食おうぜ。
What do you say? If we meet up, let's have a real, I'm scheduled to head to that area for next year's campaign, so maybe we can meet up somewhere. What do you say? If we meet up, let's have a meal next time.
相変わらずですね、先輩は。
You're the same as ever, senpai.
相変わらずなのはお前の方だよ。
Ah, if anyone is the same as ever, it's you.
スーツ姿で遠くから見てもすぐに分かったしさ。
Even though you were wearing a suit and at a distance, I recognized you immediately. Huh? Then, a voice came from a short distance away, shouting, Sukada-san! Sukada quickly responded to the call, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card holder.
悪いな。俺この後用事があるから。
Sorry, I have business to attend to after this.
これ、俺の名刺。
Oh, here's my business card.
もしよかったら、暇な時にでも連絡してくれよ。
If you'd like, feel free to contact me in your spare time.
あ、
Sukada placed the business card into Tomoe's hand as he said that, then quickly walked off. Then, his back was swallowed by the crowd in the blink of an eye.
変わらないか。
Haven't changed at all, huh? That was probably just social etiquette without any special meaning. However, at this particular moment, Tomoe felt like it was admonishing her for her inability to move on from the past, and her chest began to ache. Damn.
おばあちゃん？
Grandma.
だよ。今上野駅出たとこ。
Yeah. That's right. I'm leaving Umineko Station now.
仕事終わったから。これからそっちさ向かうところだっぺ。
My work is complete, so I'll be heading over shortly.
だね。
Huh? Yeah, right.
特急乗っかりついでいくから。着くのは10時くらいだっぺか。
I'm taking the express train, so I'll arrive around 10 o'clock.
大丈夫だね。
I'll be fine.
もう子供じゃねえんだから。
I'm not a child anymore.
鍵持ってるから、先寝ててよ。そんじゃ。
I have a key, so you can head to bed early. Anyway, later. After hanging up the receiver on the public phone, Tomoe grabbed the remaining 10-yen coin from the coin return and put it in her pocket. Just as she turned around, an announcement came out that the train was arriving at the station. Though it was a holiday, there weren't a lot of people in the car, perhaps because of the late hour. She sat down at her designated seat by the window and sat her back down on the next seat next to her. Then, she leaned back against the backrest to get comfortable and spread open the tabloid she brought at the station shop. Oh! The page she opened to had a picture of Minister Chiba, who was giving that speech earlier. A massive headline was written next to the picture saying, Promoting Medical Reform, Proposing Measures to Reduce Burden on Elderly.
こんなに有名な先生なら、先輩が先生様になる日も近いかもね。
If he's really such a famous legislator, then maybe it won't be long at all before Senpai becomes a legislator himself. But beyond that, she had no longer had any feelings for Sukada. Seeing him for the first time in a while, and seeing he was just the same as always, reminded her of the day they broke up.
もう G1 レースの時期か。
Oh, it's already time for the GI race, huh? Intending to change the mood, Tomoe looked down on the page in front of her and saw a column about horse racing. She wasn't very fond of gambling, but she did follow horse racing. Ooh, horse racing. That's hot all of a sudden recently. Since she was young, both as a way to kill time and to have a topic to discuss with elderly people. In fact, making carefree predictions about the outcome can kill an hour just as well as a crossword puzzle without any boredom. So, it was the last thing she looked forward to from the evening paper.
ま、しばらくは京都開催だから中山は空いてるだろうし。
Well, they've been holding in Kyoto for a while now, so Nakayama shouldn't be very crowded.
明日馬券買いに行ってもいいかな。
Wonder if I can buy some tickets tomorrow. Huh? Oh. Just then, the moment Tomoe turned the page and casually noticed a local news article, all thoughts completely vanished from Tomoe's mind.
嘘。
It can't be! What was written there was the story of a patient who fell from a local hospital. However, the name of the patient who died in the accident was one she would never forget. It was a boy she had interviewed before, a victim of the schoolgirl campus assault incident. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Lecture materials. Tip. Read that tip. Special lecture regarding the solution to psychopathology in modern times. On Wednesday, December 22nd at 4:40 p.m., the special lecture regarding the solution to psychopathology in modern times will be held in the Psyche General Hospital Building A in the Grand Hall on the 5th floor. The conflicts in human relationships arising from lack of communication and response to sudden changes in environment will continue to be explored. Alleviating the stress accumulated under those circumstances is a complex problem that can't be resolved with mere rest and relaxation. Mr. Chiba, who has been contributing to the advancement of psychopathology both domestically and abroad for many years as part of the Ministry of Health and Welfare's Health Policy Bureau, will introduce the latest innovations in medication to address these problems. Furthermore, he is the author of The Value of Medication in Psychopathology via Okinomiya Publishing, which was released last April. Date and time, Wednesday, December 22nd, 4:40 p.m. to 5:40 p.m. Location, Psyche General Hospital, Building A, 5th floor, Grand Hall. Topic, regarding the solution to psychopathology in modern times. Presenter, Akihiko Chiba, Minister of Health and Welfare. Capacity, 300 seats. Entry fee, 3,000 yen. Sponsor, Chubu Pharmaceutical Manufacturing and Sales Association. Co-sponsor, Aichi Prefecture Pharmaceutical Society. Participation requirements. Please come directly on the specified day. No advance application required. Please leave a business card at the reception table. For more information, contact the secretary at the Chubu Pharmaceutical Manufacturing and Sales Association. Since this lecture is intended for university patrons and staff, media coverage is prohibited. That is all. That is all. Alright, we'll call it there. Like I said, tomorrow, as of right now, the plan will be just to be reading Higurashi tomorrow. Hopefully get a decent chunk read tomorrow. We shall see on that. I'm going to throw up a BRB. I'm going to get Yakuza Kiwami 2 set up. After a quick little BRB, I'll get that set up. We'll do that for the rest of the night. Not long. We'll probably do, an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe at most. Just working on that post-game stuff, so... I'll be back very shortly. I choose this. Be back in a handful of minutes.